Good evening, Linda. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ranjeet. Good evening. Well, thanks. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. So, we are ready for the podcast today, right? For our viewers.
Yes, absolutely.
Fabulous, fabulous. I'm so excited that this is going to be the first podcast of Boundless, and it is happening with you.
I'm very honored.
You were the first coach on the platform, and you are going to be the first guest of Boundless You as a podcast, as we record the podcast.
It's quite a privilege. Thank you, Ranjit, for this opportunity.
So for the viewers, let me give introduction for Boundless You first. And why did I start? After having worked for more than 25 years in corporate, one day, on one Sunday rather, sitting in my house, this question popped up. What next? Is this all? And that was the year in which I delivered the highest number for my organization. Externally, it was all looking fine, all clappings, all celebrations were happening, but internally, something was missing. And that led me to find my own sort of an answer internally that what was that bugging me, and it was giving me different kind of thought process and emotions. And I happened to reach one of my mentor. I stayed with that mentor for more than 2 years, and he guided me to find my purpose. And that purpose was that which I never looked at earlier, was to basically go and support people, help people transition their journey, their life journey, redesign the space for themselves. So, working with my mentor, he helped me to redesign my path, my career, my charter, finding my purpose, my vision. No longer it was organization vision, no longer it was organization goal. I wrote 2 years ago my goal, my mission, my vision. And that led me to create this space called Boundless You. And this Boundless name comes from that each one of us, human, which is the highest form of God's creation. Each one of us are the highest creation from the God. And we all are infinite in our potential. Very rarely we look inside to find that potential inside us. So I created this life space or life redesign space for people to come and connect with like-minded coaches. And I'm not only the one. Thank you very much for being part of my journey. The platform is right now live with 10 founding coaches, not only from India, but from international. And Linda, you are from Egypt as we
Thank you.
speak. Right?
I'm from Lebanon, but I live in Egypt. Yes, just to
You live in
clarify.
Egypt. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So right now you are in Egypt, and we have coaches from other places with their own journeys. And this diversity is going to provide our viewers, the people, those who are looking to transform their lives, to connect with their life transformation journey. This is absolutely a safe space for them to come and talk and start conversation. It is not about doing sales, it is about supporting people find themselves. We are not fixing them, we are only fixing their path. That is what this Boundless You means. And thank you very much for being part of this journey, Linda.
Thank you for including me, Ranjit. It is quite a privilege and an honor for me to be a part of this beautiful team of transformative coaches. Thank you, Ranjit.
My pleasure. So for our viewers, let me first give introduction of yours, Linda. So viewers, Linda is a certified life coach and a meditation trainer, guiding people through moments of transition, whether in life, work, or within themselves. After 15 years working in high pressure environments as a journalist on radio and TV and a communication expert, she experienced firsthand what misalignment feels like, the anxiety, the overthinking, the quiet sense that something isn't quite right. That journey led her inward and eventually here. Today, she helps people reconnect to themselves, gain clarity, and move forward with intention. Her work blends emotional awareness, practical tools, and grounded insights to support real, lasting shifts. She believes that when you feel aligned within yourself, everything else, your work, your relationships, your decisions, begins to fall into a place. So thank you, Linda, for being here for our viewers. And we begin with asking you about If you can tell us a bit about your background and how did you become a coach?
Well, Ranjit, you mentioned some of the reasons. In fact, I had a very beautiful career in radio and TV. It was quite lovely and quite interesting. I've met amazing people. I've done a lot of meaningful work. It's important to note that I worked during times of crises in Lebanon, both in radio and TV. So a lot of times it was quite challenging, and it definitely took an emotional toll on me and my mental health. But it was quite rewarding. Then, unfortunately, because of the economic crisis that Lebanon was passing through, I had to take on a corporate 9-to-5 job. And that's when I felt completely misaligned. And I felt the toxicity of corporate work culture. And unfortunately, that has had a very negative toll on my mental health again, and also my physical well-being. I was constantly sick. I could not explain why. I just couldn't understand at the time why I had migraines that would last for weeks on end. And then after migraines, it would be stomach aches and then something else. And then it was never ending. I was always having anxiety. I couldn't explain why either. But then in retrospect, it all made sense. I was in the wrong place. I was doing the wrong things. Previously, I had lent my voice and my persona, mostly in radio and TV, for causes that mattered to me, especially in the world of entertainment at Virgin Radio. In times of crisis, it made my day to receive messages from people saying that, the show was the reason why they went to work with a smile.
Wow.
In very dark days when even myself and my co-host were always struggling to joke around on air, when the situation around us was quite grim, it was quite challenging for us. But then when we received messages like these, it made it all worthwhile for us to continue and do what we were doing. But then in the corporate environment, I was the face and the voice of the place I was working for, which I will not mention. But yet I felt that everything that I was lending my voice to had no meaning at all. And for me, this was, I can't find the word even to describe it, but it was completely meaningless. And I was wondering, what on earth am I doing here? So it all made no sense. I was making money. I was really well off financially. Everything was great. I could travel. Luckily, traveling was my escape. Because without traveling, I think I would have gone crazy. But yet I was the black sheep of the place. And staying there, the longer I stayed, the sicker I was physically, emotionally, and it was just destroying me. So it was a matter of time between that time and the time I was going to go to ER, actually, for mental and physical sickness. So it was a blessing in disguise when I left. And then eventually I moved to Egypt, to Dahab, where I currently reside. And I took, let's just say, a year off for myself for personal development, which I had been very much into for the last couple of years prior to all of this. I've been reading a lot of personal development books, self-help books, a lot about psychology, a lot about personal development in general, about energy as well. And so when I came here, I was pretty much a hermit. I had almost zero social life. I focused on myself. I focused on healing. I focused on that inner journey. And I also focused on the life coaching program, which you and I were both a part of. And it was such a beautiful journey and a transformative one. I must say that it definitely shaped the coach that I am today, everything that we have learned and experienced as a group. But not just this, also, like I was mentioning, I took other quests on the side as well, including the Silva Ultramind system with Vishen on Mind Valley, which also transformed my perception of things and how I operate in life. Energy tools, I did that with Jeffrey Allen, the duality program, which is fabulous. And of course, I also incorporate a lot of this into my coaching practice whenever appropriate. And also in my day-to-day life, it's become an integrated part of how I live and how I operate on a daily basis. So in a nutshell, that's how that's how I came to be here today and to work as a coach. I thought to myself that if this was so helpful for me and if this transformed my life this much, why not share it with others? I realized during not just the course that we took, but also in the last few years, one of my core values is being of service. And what better way to be of service than to help others go through things that are similar to what I've been through personally, and guide them in this journey. It's quite a challenging one, but it's a very, very rewarding journey, Ranjeet.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous on this part. Kudos to you, the kind of environment you spoke, and I think you and I have spoken earlier as well, the kind of environment you have been through, the toxicity and etc. We'll speak about in a later part of our discussion. And that is one area possibly we need to touch upon, because in today's environment also many workplaces are still facing the toxicity. And recently saw a book also by one of the author who wrote only about toxicity at the workplace. So that kind of opened my eyes, saying that, oh, there are books now being written on toxicity. So this is real in that sense. I will touch upon that later. But before that, Linda, you spoke about your mental conditions, I would say, from what you were feeling inside, and that was showing up physically on your body, which was migraine and headache, etc. Can you elaborate the connection between these two, how this mental condition impacts the physiology of a person? You may add before you go is how to recognize that this is not the thing which is happening physically so that I can pop up a pill and get this subsided, but it is something more deeper. So how does anybody get recognition of this?
I'm sure this happens to a lot of us, but when it comes to me in particular, I've always been in touch. My body has been in touch with my mind. And anything that my mind is perceiving as a threat or as misalignment, my body reacts. And this doesn't happen just now in the last couple of years in my last toxic job. It also happened in another toxic job, which I took maybe like 10 years ago. It was highly toxic, a very highly toxic environment. And I remember, again, the same thing happened. I had a smoker's cough. And at the time, I used to smoke shisha. We do this as young people, especially in the Middle East. Everybody smokes shisha. And I had never had a smoker's cough, although I had been smoking for years and nothing ever bothered me. But then when I was working at this place, I had a heavy smoker's cough. It's like pneumonia almost, and I was on the verge of starting antibiotics, but then I quit. And believe me, the next day after I quit, without any meds, without anything, the cough was gone. I mean, even I am mind blown thinking about this today.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm telling you. That's a cue. How do you cure something like this in 24 hours without any medication?
Wow. Fabulous.
It goes to show that it's all here. When you are not happy or when you are not in alignment, your body sends you signals. Your body sends you alarm bells. It just rings off and is like, hey, no, danger, abort mission, stop, leave. At least that's what's happened to me. It's the case for me. Maybe some people are more tolerant and, excuse the term, can suck it up and can just put up with things, but I can't. I'm too, I don't know if the word is aligned in the situation. I'm just too, I will use the word aligned. I'm too aligned. When something is wrong for me, my body will tell me, even if I refuse to admit it. And if I want to stick out longer, my body says no. So the same thing happened this time, but I don't know if I chose to be unaware of it because I wanted to stay for the sake of comfort. I mean, I knew I was unhappy. This was clear to me. There was no doubt there. But it's just that I chose to stick it out longer because of comfort, mainly financial, ease. But there was only so much I could do. My body was not agreeing, and the migraines that would not stop for weeks. And believe me, it's very hard. I mean, I'm sure those who have migraines would know exactly what I mean. But migraines are not easy to deal with. And imagine having to show up to work with a migraine. In pain, you have to be there, even if you have nothing to do, no tasks to do on a specific day, you still have to show up. And that for me was something that I just could not comprehend or process. Unfortunately, it's the case for a lot of people. It was my case once upon a time, but then I decided it was over. And I guess my body helped me decide that it was over. So.
Fabulous. So you decided, you chose that mental state for yourself. That is what I'm hearing, right? You chose that, how to shift your thinking process around this. Is that something?
Yes. So I chose, and I realized that this was not healthy for me and it was destroying me. And I was not living in line with with myself, really. I was not in the right place. I was not around the right people. I was not doing the right things. I was in the wrong place and I was not in alignment. I was not living in alignment. This kind of life is not for me, really. It could be for other people. I'm not saying it's bad for everybody. There's some things that are good for some and not for others. But for me and my personality and who I am, this was not the right work environment at all. So I'm glad that it, things somehow ended. And I was like, okay, I was relieved. I remember my boss even asked me, like, I'm sorry, your contract's over. I said, actually, this is the best thing that could have happened to me. And I didn't say this out of spite. That's the funny bit. I did not say this out of spite. I meant it. Like, this is actually a favor for me. I'm glad this is over, because then I don't think I would know how long I would have lasted. Really, I don't think I would have lasted for very long there. So it was indeed a blessing in disguise. And then I left, and then I moved here, and it was really the best thing I could have done for myself.
Thank God. And for our viewers, possibly for you to recognize, because all of us, we being professionals, many of us face these kind of challenges. And we make a lot of trips to doctors without even realizing what is going on inside. So this may be an alarm bell to basically start to become aware about the situation rather than ignoring it completely, because more often than not, we are not even aware about what conditions are causing the physical pains or discomfort in the body, right? So I think this is a great lesson. And so this is thank you.
A lot of times people feel powerless. So they are stuck in a certain situation, for example, in a certain job, and they think they have no other choice. There's nothing out there for them. They don't have a job that's, paid as well as this one, which statistically speaking, I mean, if you look at statistics and chances in the market and the financial crises happening around the world, maybe that can make sense. But I believe that life is a projection of whatever we perceive it to be. So if you perceive abundance and you see abundance, then clearly you're more likely to find abundance around you. You don't necessarily have to leave that job, at least immediately, but you can start expanding your horizons. You can start even doing things that are more aligned with you and making time for those, carving out time, while keeping that job and letting it affect you less. But in my case, personally, I guess one of the advantages I had was that I did not have a family to feed. So I had a lot less responsibility, say, than someone who has a family. So obviously it was easier for me to just, leave. And, but of course I realized not everybody can have it as easy. Yet, say if there are things that you want to do that could make your life or your time more bearable while having this job, you can always find a way to do things that make you live in alignment with what you would like for yourself and who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think you're making a very important point. Even for people, those who are supporting and managing family, it is even more important for them, because if they are not in good condition, how are they going to manage their families at the same time? Right. So it's a very important point, and possibly we will discuss more about this later. But let us progress from here. And I would like to then understand from you, Linda, that what led you to choose to focus on life transition in particular as far as your coaching area is concerned?
My life has always been all about transitions, Ranjit, and I think it's the case for a lot of people out there. For me, it makes perfect sense to specialize in something that I have been through and that I know very well. Mm-hmm. When I talk about transition, I don't just talk about job or career shifts. This is also a big part of it, but it's not the only transition we're dealing with. You talk also about geographic relocation, so moving countries. I was born and raised in Mali in West Africa. I moved to Lebanon for my studies. I spent 21 years in Beirut. And then I moved here to the Sinai, again, kind of rebuilding myself, kind of adapting to different cultures in all three of those shifts or contexts. When I went to Beirut in 2003, I had a big culture shock. I barely spoke any Arabic. The mentalities of people were quite different from mine. I came from a very relaxed international background. People in Lebanon love to dress up and they love to look pretty and always looking top notch, especially women. I didn't care. I showed up to university wearing jeans and a hoodie and tennis shoes. So for me, seeing all these beautiful ladies wearing mini skirts and full makeup was a bit strange. Always had their nails done. I couldn't care less about my nails. Now I've changed. I must say that influenced me positively, at least when it comes to my appearance. You always take the good stuff. You try to, at least. Yeah. But it took me 2 years to adapt. Although Lebanon is one of the most, one of the friendliest countries you could go to. But still, it can be quite difficult, especially when you're used to living with your family. And I was a kid at the time. I was 17, right? So I'm used to living with my family. And then all of a sudden, I find myself living alone. It's a huge shift, huge. And for me, a lot of times I would feel lonely and it was difficult to cope. Now I've become, I won't say an introvert, I've become an ambivert. So I'm completely comfortable with living alone and even sometimes not seeing anybody for a day or two. It's totally fine. Whereas before it wasn't the case. Moving here to Egypt as well, to a place I didn't really know anybody, building everything from scratch, starting a new career. Again, a lot of people would wonder, like, how do I make it? Like, they would tell me, you're 40, you're changing your career at 40. Like, you've done so well being a journalist and a radio host for all these years. Like, at 40, you're changing your career. But I hear that a lot from people. Also, a lot of them don't believe that they can do it at 50 or, no, it's never too late. Mm-hmm. You're never too old to change something about your life, to change your job, to change the way you want to live. As long as it makes you happy and as long as you are aligned as a person, and as long as you are evolving spiritually, and even mentally, I think, who tells us that it's too late? It's society, perhaps. It's parents, it's culture, it's family, it's friends. It's a preconception that we all have that, yes, by this age, we need to get married. By this age, we need to have saved this much amount of money. By this age, we should have a house. By this age, we should be retired. This is all social construct, but does it mean it's true? Not necessarily, at least not for all of us. So that's how I see life. And I think that one sometimes should think outside the box if they want to be happy.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I think our lives are guided by what people have chosen for us. They have set the rule. Government has set the rule for how do you behave outside. Family has set the rule, how do you go about living your life. So we have just adopted, acquired things from outside, which may not be aligned, as you say. It's not aligned. So the question is, how do we find alignment? And that is where I think this entire platform, talking to the coaches, will help us see. And as I put this metaphorically, that to be able to see physically ourselves, we need a physical mirror that reflects. Okay.
And Ranjeet, this is what I keep telling my clients. When clients ask me what my role is, I take out my pocket mirror and I show it to them. I say, this is my job. Absolutely. My job is to mirror you. I don't tell you what to do. This is not my job. If you come to me for advice, I'm not your friend, or, I don't give you advice. I could give you tips on how you can move forward, on what you can do to improve a certain situation, but I don't tell you what to do. I reflect back at you, who you are and what I'm seeing based on what you're telling me and the way you're behaving. For example, when a client is talking about something and their eyes light up and they smile all the way to their ears, I say it to them. I say, it appears to me that this or this person or this situation is something that, or someone that you really like, or makes you happy, or makes you sad, or makes you anxious, whatever it is. I just mirror that to them so that they become aware of their own reactions, because a lot of times people, even ourselves, we're not aware of how we feel or what we think about a certain situation. Others point it out to us. And I think that's our major role as coaches. We have to be careful not to give advice, but just to mirror whatever it is that the client is or wants, bring it to their attention and let them make their own decisions. Decide something that feels right for them. We don't do that for them.
Yeah. Thank you for highlighting this part, Linda. I think one more clarification I would seek from you, because many other people have got this misconception. They loosely relate coaching with mentoring, with training, with counseling. And all these things are very, very different. Coaching is absolutely different. And it is none of them. It is not a training. It is not a mentoring. It is not a counseling. Coaching is, what you are saying, is reflecting the own conditions of the person who you are talking to. Okay, so they see their internal through the mirror of the coach, right?
Exactly.
That is what is the distinction possibly we need to make for our viewers as well, that coaching is not mentoring. When you speak with a coach, don't expect any prescription to come from coach. Coach is only going to help you find your own internal things and you will chalk out your own path basis that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's move forward. So, Linda, if you can also help our viewers to help understand that what is that process or modality which you use to help people reconnect to themselves during the major life transitions in their lives?
I guess this depends from one person to another. There is no fixed formula. But if you want me to get the closest possible to a fixed formula, is I help people reconnect with themselves and recenter. It all starts with grounding. So first of all, we ground. We become aware of whatever's going on internally, in our bodies, in our minds. We talk about whatever it is that's in our mind. It could be bothering us. It could be making us happy, either or. And then I let the client talk about whatever it is that's going on here. And then based on that, I ask questions. So I probe, and eventually it emerges. Whatever it is that they want to work on emerges. And sometimes they just have clarity from the start, and they tell you, they go, Linda, I'm going through this and this is what I want to work on. Great. Then at least we know what's going on. But the thing is, it's not always the case, because I've had clients coming up to me and saying, Linda, I want to talk to you because of this problem. For example, there was one woman who came to me and said, I can't seem to get anything done. Like, I can't seem to stick to a certain schedule. I would need help with that in work, in the new job that I'm taking up. But then when I met with her, she was talking, and then I was asking questions. One thing led to another. It turned out at the time that she didn't come to me for that, I won't say shallow topic, for that outer surface level topic. What was really pressing in her heart was something a lot deeper. And she did not express this when she first wrote to me and said, I need to see you, because she was not even aware that this was something that was so pressing and weighing her down. She was not even aware of that until, with my questions, we were led to that topic. And then I could see her eyes welled up, and she started not crying, sobbing. So then I told her, after I held the space, I said to her, well, how about we start working on this? Because that seems to be a foundation and something that really is bothering you. So once we work on this, then perhaps we can work on the outer surface topics that you wrote to me about. So
Wow.
again, there is no fixed formula. It really is. It depends from a person to another. And I think the most important thing for a coach is to rely on their intuition, to be able to ask the right questions and really listen. And when I say listen, I don't mean just listening to people's words. I mean being there for your client and listening to the verbal and nonverbal cues, to their posture, to their gesture, to the look in their eyes, their smile, perhaps their shoulders kind of tensing up. Just listen, not just, as I said, not just with talking and your ears, but also with your eyes. I think it's very important.
What I get from here is that you're listening what is not being spoken.
Exactly. It's as important, by the way, if not more important than what's being said. Absolutely.
Perfect. So people tend to possibly come up with the symptomatic thing which are showing up, but they do not know the real cause which is causing that symptoms. And the coaching process is where you ask those right questions to get to the depth of what actually is causing rather than looking at the symptom itself.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. Great. So let me ask you this, Linda, and that your years which you spend in media and other places, how those places shaped you as a coach today you are?
As I mentioned, I worked for radio and TV. So in terms, and also communication. So of course, all of this has made it so much easier for me to connect with people. I think I've always been a people's person.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked human contact. And I think working for TV and radio and comms has definitely sharpened those skills that come naturally to me, but that took it a step even further. I think also it has led me, this entire journey has led me to look inward and to work on myself. And with all of the comms background, and be it, TV, radio, so speaking, microphones, all of this, even interacting with people, doing interviews, the interview bit actually is very important because it helped me with, I won't say interviewing clients. No, that's not what I do. It's more having a conversation. But again, if you look at my interviews, which I've done on radio and TV, it didn't quite feel like an interview as much as a conversation. And for me, that's what coaching is all about. It is a conversation. Mm-hmm. You sit and have a conversation, but the difference between a regular conversation and a coaching conversation is that this is not a two-way street. As in, like, you don't share your experiences unless it's appropriate. Mm-hmm. You don't talk about yourself, again, unless it's appropriate in very limited times. This is just simply about being there for another human being unconditionally, being supportive unconditionally. I think it's one of the most selfless professions there are out there, Ranjeet. With all due respect to all of the professions out there, namely doctors and everybody who's working in being of service for others, be it humans or animals or whatever the cause is. I think coaching is, when done right, okay, because I know that there's a lot of stigma around coaches and a lot of people have very negative ideas about what coaches are and think that we're scammers. And that can be justified. I can understand why. But this is why I'm insisting. When you are doing it right, it's one of the most rewarding and selfless professions out there. Wanting to be of service to others, and also to be there, block out this amount of time, be it an hour, whatever it is, how long your session is, an hour and a half, and fully focus on the one across from you without thinking about your own problems, without thinking about your own issues, what you have to do tonight, well, your children waiting for you at home, what you're going to eat tomorrow. You cast all of this aside and you are fully present with the other person.
Yeah.
It takes, you really got to love it. If you don't love it, then you're in the wrong place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, being there, understanding and listening what is not being spoken really requires your presence.
Yes.
There, right? So if you're not present with the client, obviously, if you're thinking something else, then what is being spoken is we are just hearing, we possibly may end up hearing and not listening to the client condition. So, and that will be absolute failure of what coaching is supposed to mean for the client.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. So in the beginning, we touched upon this toxicity at the workplaces, right? And well-being of employees and people at large is one of the questions which has always been spoken about. You coach companies on improving work culture. If you can, from your experience, highlight or maybe just throw some light on this, that what is one thing important which companies often get wrong about employee well-being?
Yeah, well, a lot of times people think that employee well-being is a luxury. I know the word in Arabic. I can't find it in English now. But in case some of your viewers,
what is the word in Arabic? If you can just
dala, which means spoiling. That's it, spoiling. a lot of people think that employee well-being is spoiling employees just for the sake of spoiling them. But it's not. In fact, it's the most important investment that CEOs and leaders can ever do. I've also coached some companies on work culture and improving work culture from toxic to healthy and thriving. And the thing I focus on is shifting this idea that treating employees well is spoiling them. Because the more inclusive the workplace is, the better employees are treated, the more they feel they belong, the more you will get from them, and the more profits and the better outcome you are going to get. Did you know, Ranjeet, and this is scientific, I can't quote exactly, I think it's Gallup that said it, hundreds of millions of dollars in the US are lost every year by companies because of toxic work cultures. High turnover, you name it. Toxic work culture is costing you as a company a lot more than you think. So if you want to invest wisely, invest in your people, because they are your asset. They're the ones producing for you. And if they're not happy, and if they don't feel like they're appreciated, they don't feel like they belong, if they feel burned out, the result you're going to get from them is quite poor. People are not going to want to invest. They're not going to want to give their best to you and to your work and to your company. They won't care, because why would they?
Yeah.
However, if they are appreciated, if they feel included, if they feel, they're part of something bigger, they're contributing to something that makes sense to them, it becomes a part of their identity. Have you met people like that? I don't know if you have, but I have, at least, and I'm sure you have as well. People who don't consider work. They're so into it, not just because they're workaholics, but because they love what they do. They're giving it their all. And that was my case once upon a time when I worked for radio and even TV. There were times I was not getting paid, yet I still showed up. And the show was still showing up on time because I loved it, because my bosses were treating me not like bosses, but like family. Because I was trusted. I was given carte blanche to do the job. It didn't matter how I did it. The important thing is that it was done impeccably and on time. And it was always done impeccably and on time. Because I felt like, the more you trust me, the more I will give you, and the more I will want to do it and do it from my heart. Now, I understand that some people need more structure than others, and that's okay. I'm not saying that everybody should be free. I get it that it doesn't always work that way. But what I'm trying to say is, a leader at least has to be considerate of the different employees they have and realize what's the strength, what's the weakness of each, what each one requires, because every one of us is different.
True.
and accommodate as best as we can to make the most out of each of those employees. Because if you treat everybody like, okay, everybody has, has to do a certain thing that way, and we don't really care how you feel about it, but, that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, it's going to end up in resentment and burnout and people who just are going to show up just for the salary at the end of the month and not really care. Right?
Very true. Since we talked about this, and there a lot of debate happens on work-life balance. So during my books interview, I happened to speak to one of the youngest interviewee of mine, and I asked him this question on work-life balance. And I asked him about how do you plan? He says, for me, there is no plan because I treat every day as a Sunday.
I love that. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, and I think you initially spoke about alignment. So people or the employees, those who are in alignment, not only with themselves, but with also the company culture, company objective, company vision, company mission, I think that creates that kind of feeling that every day is Sunday. And that is so profound, absolutely profound. If you have employees who can afford to say this, that every day is Sunday for me, I think you are the luckiest company on the earth, on the planet.
That's so true. And it's up to you as a leader to provide that for them. But also, if we look at it from an individual's perspective, it's up to us to be in alignment with what we want first. Because if you are not aligned with yourself and your wants and what you value, you are very likely going to end up in a job that's not aligned with who you are.
Absolutely.
Just for the money, just for whatever it is, the status, whatever it is. And you are going to end up miserable regardless of your boss.
True.
I'm going to give you an example, Ranjeet, of someone I know.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very talented artist. And I didn't know that, by the way. I had no idea. Her and I have been friends for a very long time. And all this time, I had no idea she was a professional. I would say professional. She's probably going to blush if she ever hears this interview, but she's a very good artist. She's good at sketching.
Mm-hmm.
And she is working in a job in which she's not happy. And the very first time she told me about this, which was not long ago, just a few months ago, we were having dinner together and she said, this is what I do. I said, you drew this? No way. Like, what? I said, why don't you have an exhibition? I don't understand. Why don't you sell this work? She said, no. I don't, it's like she's blocking there. She doesn't feel like she would be appreciated or her work is going to sell. She doesn't believe it. Yet I promise you, this is gallery exhibition material. I kid you not. And yet there she is, stuck in a 9 to 5, heck, longer than 9 to 5, 9 to 9, let's put it this way, miserable, and she won't move because this is her comfort zone.
Comfort zone. I saw a picture by that one comfort zone, and that picture reminded me of the reality. And the picture was like this. There is this water body in which there is a fish, and a snake is grabbing the fish in the waters. So for a fish, it is the comfort zone, but the comfort zone is also not safe.
Exactly. It ends up killing you.
Exactly.
So imagine if this woman dared to post one of her drawings online, and then another, just an Instagram page, 1, 2, 3, 4, people will see it. Imagine if she had a small little exhibition, not even a big one, a small one. People would come and see. One person might buy, then the next might buy. Then she would build a name for herself in that world. She doesn't have to quit her job just yet. She can just do that on the side. Absolutely. And then eventually will come a time, and I'm sure, and especially if she believes in herself at one point, she's going to make a living out of this. I have people who are artists that I know who are friends. They sell their paintings for thousands of dollars, and they make a very comfortable living because they're in alignment, because they're in the flow, because they do something that they love doing. And for them, every day is a Sunday.
Every day is Sunday. Fantastic, fabulous. So if you identify a person like your friend, what do you think could be one or couple of reasons why she would not taking the action? Is it the fear, confidence? What goes in the mind of the person? If you can just help diagnose, so that for our viewers also, if they can relate to this condition to themselves, at least there is an awareness in their mind that this is something which is possible. Are they not able to see the possibility, or that possibility is kind of buried under the lack of confidence and fear?
It can be many things, and it can be traced down to, if we are to talk a bit about psychology, it can be traced down to your feeling of not being good enough. And that can also be passed down from parents who may have grown up, may have never given you validation or the confidence that you need to build as a child to be a secure person growing up. Some people don't have that, unfortunately. They never got validation from their parents. Again, this is a possibility. There's many. There's countless. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Feeling that you are not worthy of doing something that you like doing for money, because a lot of us believe, and again, think about it, Ranjeet. Growing up, didn't your parents tell you life is hard, you got to work hard to make money? Is this true? This is a belief we were taught growing up. Even I believed this until very recently, that money is tough, life is tough. So inevitably, if you grow up believing that, that's part of your psyche. Mm-hmm. And if you think that, and if you say these words are very powerful. They carry a lot of vibration there, yeah? Mm-hmm. So if that's what you say, life is hard, money is hard, then that's what life is going to give you. And that's what you're going to see in the quantum world. That's going to be your reality. So for someone like that, it could be that, yes, no, I mean, of course it's not going to give me money. This drawing, it's a waste of time. I should be doing something more serious for the cash at the end of the month. This is, I won't make money out of this. It's a belief. It's a false belief, unfortunately. Yes, it was passed down probably from parents or society or friends, or the media, whatever it is, whatever shaped your upbringing, saying that certain jobs, I think we've all had this. I mean, if I think about myself, I grew up thinking, because my family, bless them, I mean, I know they meant well. They said, unless you're a doctor, unless you are a doctor, a pharmacist, a lawyer, or an engineer, basically you're a failure. I don't know if you have that in India as well. Something similar like this. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, but is this true?
Engineer, and third is lawyer.
But is this true? It's
not.
I remember I studied English. I remember I dropped out of pharmacy because that was definitely not for me. And my parents said, "What are you going to do with an English degree?" I said, "I don't know." And there I was. I graduated. I was making double the money that my peers were making working at a publishing house. I was an English editor. My fellows in medicine were still training in hospitals, by the way. They hadn't even finished their studies.
Started getting the money.
My fellow engineers, my fellow lawyers were making half of what I was making.
Wow.
At the time. And I was how old was I? I was 23.
Fabulous. My message must be relayed multiple times to people, those who are just pursuing engineering and trying to become
exactly. So I'm telling you,
that you can do which is aligned to yourself.
No, look, nothing against engineers. By all means, if you love being an engineer, please go for it. If you love being a doctor,
absolutely, that's the right thing. If you love being, don't become a doctor because somebody else said it.
Exactly. But what we're trying to say here is that this belief that there's only these three professions that make you a success in life is false.
Yeah.
So again, the same principle applies for, what makes you successful as an artist. It's the same thing. It's this web of beliefs, like this culture scape that we have. we have integrated growing up. And by the way, for those who don't know what culture scape is it's a term that Vishen Lakiani often uses. It's the web of beliefs and ideologies that we have been ingrained with since we were kids. Sometimes it serves us a lot. Like, for example, what do we have for breakfast waking up? We don't think about it. If we're from Lebanon, we have labniya and manaish. If you're from India, what do you have, Ranjeet, for breakfast?
It varies from region to region, state to state.
Yeah, your place, what do you have?
In our place, we eat parathas in the morning.
There you go. You don't think twice about that. You make parathas and you eat.
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, Culturescape is great. It facilitates a lot of things in your life, but unfortunately, a lot of times it comes up with rules that make no sense, which are the brews. Sorry, bullshit rules. So it makes no sense. So our job is to question if those rules are ours, or if they were passed down to us from our surroundings, family, media, school, friends, anything.
Very true. Totally agree. In fact, this also comes from the cultural nuance or our upbringing that we are not trained as human species to ask questions. At home, parents never allowed you to ask questions. At school, teachers never allowed you to ask questions. When you are adult and politicians are not working, you are not allowed to ask questions. So as a generation, we are not trained to ask questions. That is why we suffer. And what we are saying as opposed to that, please ask question. Ask question to yourself. But that becomes very foreign idea to us, most of us. And the discovery starts only when you have questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what makes people very uncomfortable, other than the fact that they were taught not to ask questions, sometimes asking questions can be scary, Ranjeet, because when you ask yourself the right questions, the answer you may have, or you may be denying, you may know it and be aware of it, but you will still deny it. You'll deny your truth. Why? Because it's going to shake up everything that you've been taught was right.
True.
To believe that it was right. It's going to shake your ramps.
True.
It's going to scare you.
True. Very true.
A lot of times we don't want to face our truth. We just don't. We don't like hearing the truth because it makes us, it throws us out of our comfort zone. It scares us.
Very true.
So this is why people also don't want to ask questions, because they'd rather live in the comfort and safety of what they know than daring to grow and expand and live in alignment.
Yeah, it is like if you're going on a road and lion shows up on the road and nobody else is around you, you try to shut your eyes off, believing that lion is not seeing you because you're not able to see the lion.
True. That's a very good one.
Yeah. So towards the last question I have for you, Linda.
Okay.
So through your work, what kind of impact do you think or you hope to create through your work to the clients?
That's a very good question. I think for me, I would say that my biggest sense of satisfaction is to help people become more aligned with themselves, definitely live a life that's more aligned with what they want and who they are, definitely. But if I was to think at an even larger scale and even a smaller step, it's to leave people better than I found them. That for me is something that luckily most times I get to experience with clients. They come to me a lot of times very frustrated or feeling a bit low. But then at the end of the session, they leave lighter. They leave with a smile. They leave relieved. And when I know that I've done that for somebody, or talking with me has helped them become like that, that for me is the most beautiful impact. And I think as human beings, not just as coaches, if we can strive to leave others feeling better about themselves and have a better day, I think that is the most beautiful achievement that we can accomplish, really. And again, that's that's talking about something very basic that a lot of us take for granted. But I think that's what it is. I wanna leave, leave this place better than when I found it. Leave people better than when I found them, than when I met them. You sprinkle your light around, and I think that not just as a coach, but as a human being is one of my missions.
I saw a lot of emotions when you were speaking about that, and
Yes.
it's really showing up. So it's great. It's awesome. Awesome. A very noble thought, very noble kind of work being a coach. And the area which you are touching upon are real in people's life. And it's a great thing, Linda.
Thank
And
you, Ranjeet.
deep inside, I believe that it is my fortune that you are part of my journey, along with for the Boundless You. And we hope that our viewers, our prospective clients, those who come and meet us, they will get benefited from your experiences a lot, specifically in the life transition, specifically in the toxicity they must be facing, or the surface level kind of symptoms which they're not able to see what is going and creating that symptom at deep rooted inside in themselves. So thank you very much, Linda, for sharing your ideas and thoughts. And it is absolutely great to have you on this show, on this podcast, as well as being part of Boundless You journey. Thank you so much.
It's an absolute honor for me again. And I reiterate this, Ranjit. Thank you for having me, for including me in your team, and for hosting me the first. It's a privilege for me.
Pleasure of mine. Absolute pleasure of mine, Linda. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ranjit, for this. Thank you. I'm very privileged.